You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. LSU's Bayou Splash getting underway here on Friday. It's a gigantic weekend. For those that aren't familiar, the recruiting calendar is about to go into a dead period next week. So this is always sort of that last opportunity for college programs to get elite prospects on campus in sort of an informal environment. So everybody has an event on this weekend. Of course, next week, fall camps will get underway across the country. And it's a star-studded list for LSU, and a lot of the names we've talked about. Some guys in the state of Louisiana. Simmons, the number one player in the country, is on campus as well for LSU this weekend. And apparently, though, there is a surprise visitor that nobody was expecting that just popped today. Bryce Underwood, the number one player in the country for the class of 2025. He's a quarterback. He's a rising junior. So, again, he'll be a junior in high school this year. But when the initial top 300 players in the country for 2025 came out, not only was Bryce Underwood the top quarterback in the country, he's the top player in the country. So the number one player for 2025 is in Baton Rouge this weekend for an unofficial visit. This is massive. Keep in mind that this is a guy who, when it's an unofficial visit, you got to pay your own way. So this is a guy who has already been to LSU and been to campus a couple of times, and it's massively significant because he's from the state of Michigan, and he's visited Michigan. He's visited Michigan State. He was in Baton Rouge earlier this year for camp, and his parents were here as well. And this is the third time in 4 months now that Bryce Underwood is visiting LSU. He's got a 5-star rating from all the recruiting services. Again, the number one prospect in the country for 2025. And when he could have literally gone to any school in the country, their event this weekend, he chose to come to Baton Rouge. Now, look, it's a far way away from Bryce Underwood making a formal college decision. He's a rising junior. He'll no doubt be an early enrollee wherever he goes, and when he ultimately makes that decision where he's going to go. But you're talking about a guy here who appears to have narrowed outside of the state of Michigan and the University of Michigan the list down to LSU. So if it's an LSU-Michigan battle for the guy who's the number one player in the country for 2025, if nothing else, man, you got a hat on the table, and you're in the race, which is massively significant. So hat tip to Joe Sloan, the LSU quarterbacks coach, for getting LSU this deep into the process with Bryce Underwood and getting this kid on campus 3 times in the last 4 months. I mean, the superlatives are there. I mean, he's got all the measurables, 6'3", 210 pounds. Let me say that again. He's going into his junior year of high school, and he's 6'3", 210 pounds. He's a 5-star by all the major recruiting services, On3, 24/7, ESPN, and Rivals. So, he's most likely thought to be, I'm sure, a Michigan lean, being that he's from the state of Michigan. But when you look outside of the state of Michigan, LSU is the team that he has visited the most. And what's really interesting to me, I was kind of looking earlier today, just for some context on Bryce Underwood, if LSU were able to get in the mix here. So if you go back and look, and I did earlier today, at LSU's all-time commits, and whenever you look at the 24/7 all-time ranking, now this is based on rating, not ranking, not your star ranking, your rating, your number, your rating number that goes up to 100. I think in the case of Leonard Fournette, actually exceeded 100. Fournette's the highest rated player to ever sign with LSU. I went and looked at the highest rated quarterback signees in LSU history as far as the rankings go back. So just keep in mind, this is the list, okay? The highest rated quarterback signee ever at LSU is Russell Shepard. Kid didn't even play quarterback at LSU. Number 2 is Ryan Perilou. We know what happened there. Number 3 was Jamarcus. Number 4, Walker Howard. That's it for the 5 stars. Shepard never played quarterback at LSU. Perilou got kicked out of school. Jamarcus played and became the number 1 pick. And then Walker Howard was here for a year and then transferred to Ole Miss. Not super awesome. The 5th highest rated quarterback ever to sign with LSU is Brandon Harris, who, of course, transferred. The 6th highest rated quarterback, we still got a shot to see what he can be. It's Garrett Nussmeier, who's still on your roster. Number 7 is Lester Ricard. Remember Lester Ricard, who transferred, I think, and ultimately finished his career at Tulane, if I'm not mistaken. Number 8 is Zach Mettenberger, who was a transfer, but still. Hayden Reddick, Miles Brennan, Jarrett Lee, Gerard Randall, and Anthony Jennings. That's the list. We forget because Joe Burrow spoiled us, and LSU's actually not only shown a pulse offensively, but they've been really good. Like, we expect LSU to be able to go have a modern offense and throw the football and catch it and run with it and things like that. Do you remember there was like a decade stretch where that was just the joke that LSU couldn't complete a forward pass? The offense was in the Stone Age. Well, this is a representative of that. I mean, this goes back all the way to, I guess the earliest signee on here would have been Jamarcus, or maybe I'd have to see it. Jamarcus or Lester Ricard. Maybe Lester Ricard was a class before Jamarcus, I want to say. But, I mean, that's your list. In the all-time 247 rating list, if you look at LSU's prospects that are on the all-time list, you got 13 quarterbacks. Shepard, Perilou, Jamarcus, Walker Howard. Those are the only 5 stars, 4 of them. Brandon Harris, Nussmeier, Lester Ricard, Mettenberger, Hayden Reddick, Miles Brennan, Jarrett Lee, Gerard Randall, Anthony Jennings. Y'all. So to bring it back home here, the fact that LSU apparently is going to have a hat on the table with Bryce Underwood, who is the number 1 quarterback and number 1 player in the country for 2025, yes. I am going to be excited by the fact that there is at least a possibility that could pick LSU. We'll see how the weekend goes. And you fully expect when you have a recruiting weekend like this, commits pop. It's an informal type deal. You get guys on campus. They're having a good time. They're around their buddies. A guy like Colin Hurley, who was with us earlier this week, is going to be there. He's going to be just jabbing everybody to try to get commits out of the players they want. So we'll keep an eye on guys like Colin Simmons, who's the number 1 player in the country and edge rusher for 2024, and that's certainly one of the ones that LSU wants, and we'll see if they can get him. They're certainly in the mix, but the list of players, the prospects that are going to be here. Colin Simmons, Dominic McKinley, who's the number 1 player in Louisiana for 2024. Colin Hurley will be here, as we mentioned. Of course, Bryce Underwood, the big surprise jumping aboard here. That's already here in Baton Rouge for the weekend. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.